Gareth, in my dealings with sales professionals over the years, one of the big areas of resistance that I've found is people's willingness to plan their meetings. And the reasons why they often resist that is because they often feel that that will mean that the conversations that they're having are too clunky, if you like, too structured. What's your experience of that?
Yeah, it's a very common thing, and often when people talk about preparation, they're often only talking about preparing a PowerPoint slide or whatever medium they're going to use to bring the proposal alive. The bit that often gets missed is planning the questions that you need to ask your customer so that you understand what their key needs are, and a realization that your customer doesn't know all the things that you can do for them. So your questions are planting some of the seeds in their mind about some of the key areas of your potential proposition, and you're stress testing it with them to find out whether it's important. And that's the bit that often gets missed, and therefore it's more likely to lead in a less flowing conversation, and therefore more likely to be time consuming and not cut to the chase that things you want to talk about.
So how do you get over the challenge then that by writing questions, people feel that it's going to come across as clunky or unnatural? How do we get over that problem?
Well, I think it goes back to what we just said before, because if people aren't doing it, therefore, the first time you do something new, it feels clunky. Get it? I mean, it's like practicing any new skill. I often use the analogy of driving, where the first time that your chances to do it, sat behind the wheel, it feels awkward. You've got all these things you need to think about. Whereas you may have watched other people do it and it looks natural. Well, the only reason it looks natural is because they've planned it, they've prepped it, they've got tools, technique, and they've practiced. And it's exactly the same with questions. It's about planning the questions, planning those key topics that you want to explore, and practicing them and just getting comfortable with that, and therefore your learning curve goes up, and therefore it just comes across much more naturally.
I suppose one of the implications of not planning your questions is you're going to forget to ask stuff, but actually human nature says that you forget what you forgot to ask, so therefore you think you remembered, but of course you've forgotten. So the paradox here is that you've got to write it down, because then it helps you guide yourself through that meeting, but also make sure that you ask the things that need to be asked in order to find out what's going on for the other person, so therefore you can shape your solution more successfully. It's all directly linked, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And again, if you're not doing it, if you're not planning the questions, you're not planning the conversation topics you need to ask with your customer, you're more likely, therefore, to have another meeting, another conversation, and therefore it's a much more inefficient way of going about business. So, once again, prepping it, key part of it is prepping your questions, prepping those key topic areas so that you're more likely to get it right first time.
Thanks, Gareth.